0795 045 864. We'll be very, very glad to hear your sentiments. Ukitupigia simu. The question of the day: why does the past matter in a relationship? And when you call us, tell us your name, unatupigia simu ukiwa wapi, and then kindly mute your TV or just have it off. Do we have a very seamless conversation? You can also text us on a WhatsApp number 0793 267 279. And today I'm very glad to have a couple. They'll be telling us, well, how long they've been together, kama the past ever mattered for them. Richard Zio is not a new face on this panel. Na amekuwa akiniambia about Lydia. Akasema wacha leo Lydia si watch from home. Wacha leo kuje sasa a watch. Lydia Zio as well as Richard Zio. Both of you are counselors, very interesting. I'll start with you because, well, the viewers are seeing you for the first time here. Who is Lydia Zio?
Oh, Lydia. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, and a personal development and leadership coach with Beyond Success program in East Africa. Yes. All right.
Zingine umeka.
She's being polite.
Oh, okay.
The country coordinator and regional director for Dr. John Maxwell, Beyond Success Equip.
All right. How about you, Richard?
I'm just an ordinary boy. Her CV is bigger than mine.
We're going with that today.
Oh, yes.
All right. So our African proverb, as we do every single Wednesday, comes all the way from Madagascar, that country that decided it's going to be away from Africa. It says, don't be so in love that you can't tell when it's raining. Don't be so in love that you can't tell when it's raining. Ladies first.
Oh, yes.
Your interpretation of this proverb.
Yeah, I think that's a reality. You know, like being in love does not mean that you're not seeing what is happening. Because when you don't see the reality, you know, when it starts, you know, normally people ask, when did it start raining? Because you're so in love, you're so engrossed in each other's eyes, you're not even seeing the flaws. So when I listen to that proverb, I would think you ignore the red flags and the flaws because you are so in love.
Richard, do you concur? Kuna other opinions?
I think the beauty of what Lydia has just said, love has a way of insulating us from a couple of things. Because if you fall in love, one of the things that happens is that you believe in the person until you really begin to work the relationship. And love begins to showcase a couple of things you had ignored. So let's say marriage opened up the blind eyes, so you get to see certain things. So that African proverb is, I like the truism that is in it. There are certain things you can't ignore. You must face up to the reality and explore life for what it is. Of course, you believe the past for what it is, but in believing the past, there are some things that need to be warned about. I like what happened during the week. She told me a few things about her past. I had no clue.
Really?
And I'm like, 18 years down the line, I'm getting to know certain things. Of course, they're not that traumatizing, but it informed me in my response to us to love her better based on what she told me.
So meaning the stages of how you even give out this information about your past?
Yes.
Like, I think I like one of the animations we used to watch, Shrek, and the donkey will say, people like onions. You know, you keep peeling.
Them. It's really
so 15 years
sometimes
later,
you cry as you peel
as you're
this
peeling,
onion.
you're crying because you realize that the inner you go, the deeper it is.
And we're oftenly told that we are who we are because of our experiences. And your past really builds you, really. Explain that to us. I'll start with you, Lydia. How are we who we are because of our experiences?
Yeah, I think this begins even from the family we are coming from. You know, if you have had traumas in your family, let's say betrayal, abandonment traumas, it will inform even the kind of person you attract in your life. You know, when you look at it, if you have a wound, what comes to the wound? Mainly the flies, you know, the dirty stuff come to the wound. So if you haven't dealt with these traumas from the past, it will affect even the people who come into your life. So your past, you can't ignore it. And that's why people normally say, you know, when you hear someone say, I don't talk about my past, that's a red flag. You should actually talk about your past.
Those are details. Okay, so how do you give out this information. Even just before you get into this relationship, in that whole dating season, kama sai season ya baridi, ndio sasa mtu anaamua, hapana, I've been on the streets for too long, let me decide to have someone else. And you're thinking, let's say for a guy, you're the whole bit of chasing, or even for the lady, and you're wondering, huyu mtu atanikubali just because of the things that I've done in my past. Do I need to tell them right now? And if I tell them years later, will it be I was lying to them? Richard?
There's a saying that says, don't ask, don't tell. But I think for you to have a predictably healthy, vibrant relationship, there are some things that you should consider. Don't tell too much about certain things. You tell in installments certain things. There's a place where you have to be honest, but also there's a place where you need to be transparent.
So when is the right time?
At the initial stages, I think there are certain things that must be a must. If it relates with sexual past, if there are more than 3 body counts, please don't tell. I'm not interested. That's the honest truth. If it is related with abuse, at least I'm interested to know some of your past in relationship to some of the abuses you've been able to experience. So I know, can I handle the chaos that comes with that abuse? If it's in matters related to crime, I need to know. Lest we're in a relationship and then I see cops showing up at my door. Who are you dating? Who are you courting? Who are you in relationship with? There are some red flags that I need to know. But if it gets to certain themes related to building trust, you begin to release certain information in installments based on the new relationship you're engaged into. That way, you get to work the relationship. So in working the relationship, I would recommend one, be honest and transparent. Honesty, you tell the truth. Transparency, you say it all. There's nothing to hide. But in being honest, sometimes you tell certain things based on mileage you're having into the relationship. Can she handle this? Can she handle?
And now that bit of handling is where I wanted to go next, Alida, because I might really want to tell you about something very important in my past. For example, as you say, it was abuse, ama nikona kesi na ESCC, but then I feel like, no, at this point, you may not really handle. So is it my position to establish that? Let me just tell you, if you're going to handle it, fine. If you're not, you're ni shauri yako.
I think you should, first of all, gauge the emotional maturity of that person, if they can handle it. Because if you may face rejection based on your truth. You tell them, I've had this person, they're like, I can't handle because of the emotional maturity. But if you think the emotional maturity to handle what you're telling them, I think it's good just to be honest about it. But again, as you have said, a disclaimer, you can't bear it all open on the first date. You will not have a second date. You may just go for one date every time because you say so much until someone is like, okay, next. You're being honest, but this is scary. Because you grow, intimacy grows. You start seeing into each other over time, but not in one day. Just go for one date and I'm like, my mother killed you. I'm like, who is this? It's so scary. You have a very traumatic past and you're saying it all. And again, like I said at the beginning, heal the wounds. Yesterday I was meeting a counselor, psychologist, a friend I just met, and she was sharing about kids of, she's having a program for kids of divorcees. And sometimes people divorce, they go through their therapy and they heal, but the kids have not healed. So later on, it starts projecting in their 20s, in their teen years. They're like, this boy is acting up, this girl is acting up. But it's because of the trauma of the divorce, which is also a rejection trauma. So it's good to just know, where is this coming from? Because you may think it's just a one-off thing. Someone overreacts and you say, this person is overreacting. To you, they're overreacting. To them, that's their normal. And it's because of their past. So their past plays a key role in current relationships.
So how about the dynamics of I started, or probably just bumped into something about the significant other. And I really wanted to ask them about this. She has never told me about all this. So how do I now start, asking her, hey, naona hapa Facebook 8 years ago, you are this and this and this. Richard, how do I go about that?
There's a statement we used to quote way back in school, in physics: to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. I think if you're going to ask and probe your significant other, are you willing to volunteer the same information toward her? If not, don't ask. It should be that you first establish that all good relationships are built on trust as the currency. If I trust you, I should be able to volunteer information without necessarily you probing me. And with time, you get to make self-revelatory experiences about yourself to your person or the person who you're interested in without coercion. And the more healthy it is in being in conversation, because when you're in a relationship, that's when you get revelation about people. So they reveal themselves with time. You get to see into them, like Lydia has mentioned, that intimacy is into me, you see. So there are certain things you get to see. And when you see them, you talk with them candidly about them, and they'll be able to reveal those details without coercion. I like what precipitated the conversation I mentioned, that she made mention of certain info about her past relationship that I had no clue about. It was in having no more ordinary conversation, and she knows she trusts me, so she can volunteer this part of information to me because I can handle it. Possibly if she did it then, I would not have been able to handle it, but now I could.
So is it the fact that, 15 years, is it the fact that you know someone for too long that certain aspects of your life escape your mind and they're at the very back of your head, and then years later something probably sparks it? You're probably in somewhere, and then you're like, hey, by the way, nishakwambia kitu. It had escaped your mind way back.
That's why I'm saying respond to that.
But then in retrospect again, there is the whole intentionally having it and just piling it. All these years, this has ever happened. I've never shared it with my person. I really trust this person, but then I don't know how to. So you're like, it's been so many years. It doesn't really matter. There are those two sides of the coin here.
Actually, I would say it's because I thought I had dealt with it until I met someone who was going through a weird part of a relationship. So I had to share my story for them to jack themselves out of it. It was more like a therapy session. And when I shared it, he looked shocked because he's like, huh?
I have no clue.
Yeah, so I think I had never seen the need to bring it out. It was to help someone else. For me, I had just I think sometimes we put things in the subconscious. It's just in there. And it's like you have these X-files. You keep pulling one by one. So this one was an X-file to also help someone else navigate the relationship. So when I shared it, they were like, what? They were all so shocked. And they're like, so I was telling, I think I was bewitched, or I think I was stupid or something, because when you have a past where you've gone through betrayal, you see it and you don't even handle it because you fear rejection. So you just you mask everything, you smile in front of people, you look happy, but because you fear rejection. So I was dealing with this case and I was telling them, sometimes you can actually end up in abuse because of the fear of rejection. The people who don't want to be alone. You leave one person today, tomorrow you're dating someone else because of the fear of being alone.
So how do I, now in the initial stages, how do you tell the significant other? Either mmeingia kwa relationships, probably let's say a year or just a couple of months, and you tell this person, you're trying to tell them, hey, whatever you're sharing is just, you're oversharing. Is there something like that, first of all? Because, she had mentioned something like that. It's the first date, and someone is, burdening you with all this, the whole emotional stuff and everything. So is there something like oversharing in a relationship?
Yeah, there is. Because when you enter a relationship, to be honest, you come with a commitment to forgive the past, believe the past, support the present, but also encourage the future. But you see, the best predictor of future behavior is the past. So if I'm not going to be comfortable with the past that you're telling me about, and you're making too much revelation about yourself and how many people you've explored sexually, I mean, my interest is, I don't want to know that. If it is more than 1, 2, 3, it's too much, don't tell me. If what I would want to know is it over? That's it. Anything after that, I'm not interested. That is really where I would insulate myself. If it is financial infidelities that you've engaged yourself in unscrupulous business and you owe people too much money, I want to know, are you in danger? If you're not, do you have a way out? That's it. That's all I want to know.
Right. Let's pick this call by Felix kutoka Ngong. Felix, habari asubuhi.
Financial infidelities that you engage yourself in unscrupulous business.
Hello.
Yes, ni aje Felo?
Mzuri sana.
Are you in danger?
Kabla uendelee Felix, tafadhali just mute your TV ama have it off ndio tuendelee kuongea vizuri.
Okay.
Umefanya hivyo?
Yes.
Haya. Habari ya Ngong?
Mzuri sana.
Kuna kijibaridi kama huko Nairobi ama iko aje huko?
Huku ni baridi kidogo, ni baridi sana.
Haya, fantastic. Uko na kitu ya kuongezea kwa conversation yetu? Tunauliza why does it, tumeona the past really matters kwa relationship, but then why does it matter?
Yeah. So it matters a lot because now I can't date someone who I know, I don't know his or her past. So it's very important to know their past for me to navigate in the relationship. So sometimes maybe I might come and realize this person is a killer. So I need to be strong enough to sustain this person for my entire life. So it is better to know each other the very first time before we even go further. So that's my comment.
So Fellow, kabla nikuache uende, ni nini specifically mmepatana na mpu hapo Ngong mahali na hii baridi kwa na wacha tu nikuwe na yeye, ni nini utakunaangalia kwa past yake?
The wounds, the sexual wounds. Mtu amekuwa sexual past yake imekuwa vipi? I'll also check on their religious background. I'll check how she was raised before even we proceed. I'll check on the family background, the genealogy of their family. Who are they in their family? So those are the things that I'll basically check before we even go further.
Right. Asante sana Fellow, salimia sana watu wa Ngong.
Okay.
Haya. 0795045864 ndio namba ya kutupigia simu sahihi. Kuko na phone, andika your number sahihi, just save it and then call us live 0795045864. Or better yet, head out to our Facebook page. We have a poll there, and the question is there, does the past matter in a relationship? About 73% say yes. Kwa no ni about 14%. Wale kuna na wale I don't care. Wanasema ni 12%. I can skim through a couple of them. Elizabeth Mogo says, jumkikataa kushare with each other your past, it may affect you in future. Zaka nasema mambo ya kuvote iliachana nayo. Martin says yes. Someone here says, it's Kaslin says personally no. Let me see someone. Dunston Kim, yes, show me your friends and I'll tell your character. And that really, I mean, definitely shows quite a lot. Because, yes, the kind of things that you probably did in your past, umeacha kufanya. Or certain aspects of your past, they're in your past. But then, the people that you hang out with, or your acquaintances, they're not in your past. They're still alive, so once in a while, you'll probably catch up. Does that also matter? Because they were involved in your past. Certain aspects that happened in your past, you were together with these people. And as he says, show me your friends and I'll tell your character. So how does that play?
I need to know who he is. If it's a man, in my case, I need to know who he is. I don't want to be in a restaurant and you're looking at him and you're frantically panicking that he's here, and me, I don't know who he is.
How much knowledge do you need about his other friends?
Who is he? Where does he live? Are you through with him?
Details.
It's important because those are the practical issues that will ail your relationship.
But then what if there wasn't anything really mutual? It was just, platonic kind of friendships. Mlikuwa kwa biashara na mtu, for example, nothing romantic there.
Don't reveal, just say there was something. It's in the past, that's it. No details.
Okay, if I'm trying to understand what you're asking, if it's just relationships, your company, sometimes you get a lot of information from even people's friends. So it's good to know. And if someone does not have friends, that's also worrying. In this, you only have Facebook friends or your social media friends. You don't have physical friends. That's also worrying, what kind of person are you? So it's good to just get to know the friends, the family members, if possible. Meet a sister if they have one, meet a cousin. Let's at least be interested if you're seeing a future, even if it's a business future with this person. Get to know their circle.
All right. We do have all the way to Narok, Judith, habari asubuhi. Hello, Judith.
Hello.
Good morning. Kama unanipata, tafadhali mute your TV or have it off.
What?
Yes, habari ya Narok.
Narok ukwema na nini?
Sisi hapa tuko salama. Uko na maoni ya kuchangia ama uko na swali?
Mimi niko na maoni. For example, unaweza kuwa na mtu mmepatana. Hello. Na sasa mnaketi, unamwelezea maisha yako yenye umeipitia.
Okay.
Alafu hiyo sasa ndio inakuwa kipoko. Ya kukutabia, mkipitana tu kidogo, anakuambia ndio maana yake.
Anaitumia kama excuse.
Hello,
yes. Nasema anaitumia kama excuse kila wakati.
Kila wakati. Sasa naona inakuwa hapa ukikuza na maneno yako ya fast kuliko kuyaexpose kwa mtu. Kwa sababu unajua mtu akianza kukuambia ndio maana yake, unajua inakuhata. Basi unaona heli ningekupa nayo kuliko kumwambia.
Asante sana Judith. Salimia sana watu wa Narok.
Asante pia nani sana.
Thank you for calling. 0795-045-864 is the number to call in live. Tuambie hizo maoni zote uko nazo. How does the past matter to you in a relationship? Are you currently trying to get into a relationship na unashangaa past year mtu kweli itakuwaje? And Judith raises a very interesting dynamic here. Nilikuambia mimi niko na shida na EACC. Kila time unashinanga kuniambia ndio maana. Richard.
I'd want to hear what Lydia has to say because the lady was asking before I respond to the same.
Yeah, because there's something in psychology they call humiliation trauma. And there are people who use it a lot. Like to humiliate you, tell them the way, even genuine things like even poverty. They see you piling a lot of food in your plate and they say, ndio maana yake unakula hivyo. No, because you came from lack, because they know your past. It can be in a marriage, it can be in a relationship, it can be in the workplace. They know something.
Yogurt
analamba. Yeah, so it's because yogurt umeiona hapa Nairobi. So you just have to. Yeah, so that humiliation trauma can be actually affect the relationship because someone keeps on telling you, you do something, they're like, even dressing. But again, it also reflects the other person who is humiliating you. There's something they have not also dealt with. Because when you have dealt with your own issues, you don't humiliate another person. Because if you use it as a card, when you're having a fight, you pull it out. Because I trusted you. I told you something about my family. Then you see me behaving in a particular way. I come from a family where my dad believes in keeping this one car. Zile ziko na KV. So maybe I'm so passionate about having maybe an old car.
The vintage.
And he's wondering, why can't you just accept a new car? But later on, when I say even my family is like that, then he says, you see? So you use it to to hurt me, that's wrong. But if you use it to encourage me, like, yes, it's true, you're coming from this vintage family, but you can upgrade. Yeah.
Right. And Richard, even as you come in on this, allow me to say this. Director ameniambia lazima niwakumbushe 0795045864 is the number to call us live. And when you're calling us, tell us your name and where you're calling us from. So I'm not the one who's going to be picking this call. Director Nick will be picking, so utasikia sauti yake, and then he'll link you to us in the studio. So usisikie sauti ingine ushangae, huyu ni nani anaongea. It will be our team handling all those calls. So keep on calling us, and we're really intrigued by your calls, your questions, and your feedback. So even as you come in on this, the whole different kind of dynamics when it comes to your humiliation kind of trauma. Before her call, and just to tie this together, does it mean that now sitakuwa nimefanya enough investigations, because there's something Lydia was saying. Jaribu kujua her friends, jaribu kujua this person's past, there's that bit of trying to really know this person. So does it mean that sitakuwa nimefanya enough, let me call them investigations, ama background check vizuri, so that I come to know years later that, kumbe past yake iko hivi. Does it mean that I didn't do my background check vizuri?
Let me first say that hurting people will always hurt people. So in every experience where you find someone says things that eat at the self-esteem at the core of another, there's something that is not whole and healed within them. So they will use what is already inside them to bite others. You can't give what you don't have in relationship. So if you have a lot of hurt, quite naturally you will spill it out, it will come out. If you have a lot of woundedness, it will find its way festering into the relationship you have. If one is being able to deal with that, they will be quite fine. But when it comes to navigating relationship, I think you need to do your due diligence. Let's say that if in your company of friends, 3 narcissistic individuals, you're the 4th one. If you're in a company of people who are obese or they eat too much and they find pleasure in always eating, and therefore you're the 5th one. So if in your company of people you have individuals or friends who are always bitchy about relationships, they always say things that scripted in pain, most naturally you're also surrounding yourself with the same kind of toxicity and painful experiences which you transfer in a relationship. So if you want to really have a healthy relationship, do your due diligence. Take time to find out who are her friends. The first time I met her, I remember telling her, I want to meet your friends and I want you to meet my friends. So immediately, out of spontaneity, organized a dinner, and she met all my friends in one single setting here in Nairobi. Being a cross-cultural relationship with my wife, I come from Uganda. So I told her, I want you to come and meet my friends. As soon as she came to Uganda, went out for lunch, and I called all my friends and we sat down just to dine out, for her to genuinely get to know my friends. And she reciprocated the same. She began to bring several of her friends that I got to learn and have been friends to this date. So do your due diligence.
Right. We have another caller, Franklin, all the way from Kisumu. Franklin, habari ya Kisumu Dala? Hello, Franklin. Franklin, kama unanipata, habari ya Kisumu Dala? Right, ni kama Franklin amepotea kidogo. 0795045864 ndio namba ya kutupigia simu. Team will be picking your call and then inaturushia hapa kwa studio. Ukitupigia, make sure that your TV or wherever you're watching us from iko mute ama iko off. So sorry to cut you short, but then there are other couple of comments that kipenda tuangalia as well. On Facebook, the couple says, yes, it does for a woman. And Lala Jason says, in fact, the past determines whether a new relationship should be started or not. Kuna maneno mengine ameweka hapo, hiyo ni PG usiku. But then for the couple's feedback, yes, it does for a woman. How do the dynamics play for a man as well as a woman when it comes to, first of all, divulging the past, as well as even the kind of emotional maturity they have, as well as how they even take in the other's past. How do it balance?
I think for women, we trust on credits. We've just met a stranger across the border, and I'm believing what he's telling me, and I'm already like engaging with him in a relationship, not knowing whether maybe he even has a family back home. We just trust in on credit.
I must warn him, it's a true story.
Yeah. So I think for a woman, we get involved emotionally.
Could I interrupt you briefly? Hold on to that bit. Let's pick all the way to Kakamega. Justus, habari ya Kakamega?
Mzuri sana.
Kakamega kuna baridi ama kuna jua?
Kakamega climate huwa ni 50-50, jua, baridi, so kila kitu iko tu cool.
Aya, pia huko Nairobi kwa hivyo. Leo tunaongelea maneno ya past. Sijui probably unaweza kutushare for you, but then uko na swali, uko na maoni on this conversation?
Mimi niko na maoni. To my experience,
all right,
I can say it is true. Past matters a lot.
Okay, why?
Because to me, I've been in several relationships kidogo. Sio sana, but at least.
Okay.
But what I came to realize is that in most cases, background where a lady comes from is very important. In fact, mostly men sometimes we just end up meeting these ladies, and within a short time, we don't know a lot about them. Then we end up being with them. You see, but when you continue being with them, then you realize that what you had expected from her is very difficult or different. And by the time you start to encounter, and maybe to make her understand that if, for example, I want to know when you are there, maybe from your home or your previous relationship, what exactly ailed you, or what were you suffering, so that maybe you break up, or how did your family brought you up on some issue? Because right now you're inside the relationship and you are like, you cannot get out, and at the same time you have to continue, you see. So past matters, because most of our ladies, I can say, they have a lot of issues where they come new relationship, they feel like you cannot ask them, inakuwa tu ni siri, but with the time, when you realize something and you be like, let me follow up about this, you find that now it's difficult, inakuwa chaos, inakuwa like bado hata in fact inabaki tu sasa unaachwa hanging, because right now you're like, this is my future. How can I go in a future with you when you cannot be bold enough to solve your past, or to ensure that you are working on your past, you see. So right now, in a present way, you find that as a man, it's difficult for you to find that moving forward, and at the same time, to leave this person, you feel like, let me just hang there, and which in future now it's up to you now to know that you'll have a lot of heartbreak, you'll have a lot of insecurity, you'll have a lot of discomfort, you see. So that's what I wanted to contribute at the moment. Thank you.
Right, quite a length and a very bold point that you have there. Thank you very much, Justus kutoka Kakamega. Salimia sana watu wa Kakamega. 0795045864 ndio namba ya kutupigia simu. Usiogope, tuambie kama even in your own personal relationships, how has the past really mattered? Before this call, Lydia, we were talking about matters, the gender dynamics. You can briefly finalize on that before I get Richard's view on what Justus anaongelelea. And keen to note, actually, something interesting that he says is, I'll bring it up, and then kuna ile scaffolds, where mbona nataka kujua nini, all that kind of a scaffold. But before that, you can finalize on the whole gender dynamics.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. For women, we first get emotionally involved because before we get the facts. You know, you just meet this guy, you love him, he's a box. Then later on, that's when you start wondering, okay, asking questions after already emotionally involved. So for women, you just have to, I know it's hard, but it's good to just have that bit of, yes, I'm involved already, but I need to find out who am I actually dating or getting involved with.
So men do a lot of background check, unlike women.
I think men do. Men do it more than the women, because that's what you find. Even the craziest, the most criminal, you know, the hardcore criminals, they have a woman in their life. And the woman is innocently at home. When he's shot or appearing on the screen, they're like, ha, alikuwa mwizi. You know, because you can't believe this guy, because at home was a different kind of a character. That's why, because the woman already is involved, is in love with this person, they don't really care as long as this man loves me. Actually, when you say, I don't care, this man loves me, you just need to care and find out.
Yes, we don't know, sure. Richard, why the scuffles? I've brought up about my past, and then Amma, as I was saying, about, let's say, her past. And then now there's the scuffles, as Justice puts it, the discomfort. Why does it happen?
I would give my own experience. I think I always tell my wife, Lydia, that men were wired differently. We love to think our thoughts as opposed to expressing them. They love to express their thoughts before they think deeply about them. I think in my own experience, when you reveal yourself, and I've not wired myself to journey through that murky experience of that experience, it might cause some kind of conflict of interpretation to the person who's hearing. Let's say the case in my wife. So I think if she's not secure enough that what she's revealing to you, you can't handle it, you'd rather see a therapist, because your spouse is not a therapist to counsel you through whatever you're going through. Instead of saying it and it will ruin what would be good within your relationship, seek counseling and therapy professionally and you'll be helped. For me, I'll ask you questions. I'm expecting responses from you, which you might not necessarily have. Because often when you dig in a dry well, in a place where there's a dry well, it doesn't matter how deep you go, all you'll find is gravel and stone. And that is not healthy for us in a relationship. All I'm expecting is fresh water to refresh me in that experience. So if it is not there, let's source for help. And I think for all relationships, you need a coach. You need mentors. You need people to journey with you. You need therapists to go through your chaos because we all carry traumas in our relationship. So it is good for a man to be compassionate and empathetic towards their significant other. And the same is true to be reciprocated. If you give it, definitely there will be a return of investment on the same. So, but men, that's how we're wired. We're wired to question things. Right. To be curious. And I think a healthy relationship should have that sense of curiosity to ask the why, the where, the who, and all that follows through with it. It's healthy.
Right. Now that we've established all about the past really matters and even the whole gender dynamics, I want to tone it down kidogo. Speaking on behalf of all the Gen Z pale, ndio umeanza kuingia kwa relationship. But actually hata the word relationship is not even on the table. You umeanza to dates, unapelekwa hapa, and obviously on the dates there's conversations. And as you're saying, there's some things that he or she might say and might sound ish, you know. So at what point, on both parties, if I'm the one telling all this about my past, and the kind of reaction that I'm getting isn't what I was expecting, you know, you're probably sharing some bits and I will say, you know, so how do I know that I am safe to continue with this relationship and vice versa?
Yeah, I like the part you've brought in about young people, the Gen Zs who are getting to know the dating scene. And when you look at it, there are people who want to reveal, again, too much. And you think it's cool. And again, now I think we even have a more complex situation with the social media. Because now already maybe you have posted some things online. You have your TikTok and you've already posted and it's gone viral and it's crazy, and you've met someone.
Your whole story is there.
Yes. So maybe most likely, even a changed person, but because there's storage. Thank God for us, there's not much storage. There's storage. But now it's out there. But most likely, maybe you are a transformed person, you have changed. I think also we need to give people a chance. Don't just brush off people. If they have changed and you can confirm that they're actually in a different journey altogether, it's good to give them a chance. Yeah.
Right. There's a comment here about 2047. The past shapes our present and future. The past has gotten us to where we are. There are things that worked out in the past that we need to relearn, and things that didn't, which we need to unlearn and heal from. And as we have about kama 5 or so minutes ya kumalizia, that whole, as much as yes, the aspects of things that were in the past, and as you're saying, yes, you probably stop doing them. You're a changed person. For example, let me use a hypothetical of you, for example, used to do, let's say, hard drugs, kitu kama hiyo, engage in some narcotics, vitu kama hizo tu. And then now in the future, you probably start to relapse. The aspect of relearning and learning with this other person, how does that work, Richard?
It's good to view the lens with which you view the relationship around about you, the lens you use. Because if it is negatively scripted, there's hardly much you can do about it. But if you have some measure of faith in the relationship you have, because trust is the currency that oils any relationship. And if you're going to work that relationship, true, you cannot ignore certain facts as they are. Because if someone has been given to hot temper and anger, animosity, hatred and all that, it will fester itself in the relationship. I don't care how much you love that individual. If he has not gone for therapy and counseling and deal with his traumatic past, you're not an angel, you're not Jesus. It will come up and you better be ready for it. So it is good he deals with his past, painful past as it would be, by going through the professional help he can access and counseling, then you'll be okay. But if the person is an addict, given to self-destructive behavior patterns, as you've mentioned, drugs being one of them, the best predictor of future events is usually in the past. If he's through with it, there should be a track record that he has sought help, gone for rehab, gone for counseling, gone for therapy, and that's a continual process. It'd be good down the line, he can invite you into the journey, and the evaluation that is given to him or to validate that he's through with his experience, there should be substantial evidence to showcase that he's a transformed individual. Don't go into it blindly with false optimism. He's okay. I like the idea that we say, some will tell you, I'm now born again, I'm now Christian, I'm now transformed. True. But how about the cases you get to see some individuals, the same things come over. You were drinking in the past. All of a sudden it surfaces and then it gets worse. So go through therapy and counseling and all the help that you need to get. Don't go into it blindly. For especially Generation Z, which is coming up, the millennials, the alphas who are showcasing their work yesterday in the city of CBD, some of these things have nothing to do with certain things. There's a past trauma and pains that they've gone through, and they will show up in any relationship.
Right. As you're saying that, something has come into my mind. Ile, we often say that. Lydia, also, as you give us your final thoughts, better the devil you know than the angel you don't know. And I've realized even as we're having this conversation, a lot of the negative past is what really comes with the table, and not really much of the positives. Obviously, in your past, there was so much positives that you did, so much projects that you did, Nini, and that rarely comes on the table. And what comes on the table is the negative aspect of that. So, nikiambia sasa my future mpoa, nampatia both of them equally. This is the positive, this is the negative. Because at the end of the day, they are visualizing you in a certain way. The first impact. Back to dating ile hata before dating, this is what you visualize. You probably tell them so many negatives and they start visualizing you in a certain way. But ukibalance, pia and as a balance how they see you.
when you're saying that, I just remember how during the campaign period, the politicians wanauza sera zao and they convince you. They tell you about a dam in a place you have never even envisioned it. So I think the same in a relationship. It should be also sharing your vision. Don't just focus on just the negative things only. Right now, I may be like a young man struggling and sina kakitu, but you're envisioning this business empire and all that. And I think when you take someone else you care for along that journey, it will be more interesting. So like you say, bad news travels faster. More than the good news. So also it's good to balance it out, like you're saying. Also share, in case currently or in the past you don't have anything good to share, share the vision. Yeah.
All right. You marry potential.
In a sentence each, your final thoughts, advice, or words of advice.
I think relationships are meant to be enjoyed, not endured. So if you find anyone that you stimulates and sets you in a place where you feel excited about life and you can do life with them, be sure that you're hilariously happy while you're doing it, because it's meant to be enjoyed, not endured. And the energy, the vibration you send out will pick the right signal with the right significant other that you're interested in.
Right.
So give it a shot.
Thank you very much. Lydia, very briefly.
I would say if you have trauma from your past, let's normalize seeking help. You're not crazy, normalize seeking help, because it will have a great impact on future relationships.
That's
in case it has not worked out, learn why it did not work out, do a post-mortem of your relationship first and why it died before you even start another one.
All right, thank you very much, Lydia, as well as Richard Ziwa, for giving us these wise nuggets. Najua nyi pia mtaenda kureview later on usiku how tulikuwaje. Thank you very much, and also for tuning in, for all those who called, for those who texted us on Facebook, WhatsApp, as well as our SMS number 22047. Conversation yetu yote, as much as kuna baridi imefanya ukakuwa na njaa kidogo, don't worry, we are cooking for you in a very few. Leo tunapika rumonde matumbo with some creamy murenda na pumpkin leaves. I guess unashangaa pia kama unaweza pitia kitchen. Mnaweza pitia muonje pia nyinyi kidogo kule murenda pamoja, au sio? Chef Brian will be along with you. Don't go too far.